Hi, everyone. I'm Tom, and I'll be one of your teachers on this course. I'm thrilled to have you here with us.
Thanks, Tom. I'm Sarah, your other teacher.
And if you are following this, it means you are B2 level, so congratulations. That means that you have an upper intermediate level of English.
Exactly. At this level, you're feeling comfortable with communicating using a range of vocabulary at your disposal. But you need to push yourself to expand that vocabulary and also become more accurate.
And that's what we're here to help you with. Hopefully, you've had a chance to look at the course syllabus, and you'll see that our lessons alternate between a grammar lesson and a vocabulary lesson. This gives you balance, and there are also lots of reviews.
Now, reviews are really important because they give you the chance to consolidate what you've learned and raise any issues. You can always go back and review the right lesson.
So let's start with Lesson 1.
So, Lesson 1 on the B2 course is a grammar-based lesson, and it's called Questions 1. I've named it Questions 1 because there will be 2 lessons on questions. It's a big topic, an important topic, so we will cover it in 2 lessons. This is the first one.
So, in Lesson 1, we're going to focus on how to form questions. We'll look at using auxiliary verbs, and we'll practice using the question words: who, what, which, where, why, and when.
There's a lot to cover, so let's get started.
Hopefully, you've had a chance to look at the advert for the lesson. I asked you to imagine meeting somebody for the first time and think about what kind of questions you would ask.
So, as an example, imagine meeting me for the first time. What kind of questions would you ask?
I've given you some prompts here: when, which, what, who, where, and why. Pause the video and see if you can write 6 questions you would like to ask me. I'll give you some answers in a minute.
How did you do? Hopefully, you've got 6 questions. Here are some of the questions I came up with as an example.
When are your lessons? Which courses do you teach? What do you like to do at weekends?
Who are your students? Where are you from? Why do you like teaching English?
Here are the questions again. When are your lessons? Which courses do you teach? What do you like to do at weekends?
Who are your students? Where are you from? Why do you like teaching English?
Now, these are just some examples, but you might have thought of other ones as well. I think these are quite relevant when you're meeting a teacher for the first time. These are things you might want to know.
Since it's our first lesson, I'll answer these questions for you.
When are your lessons?
Well, as you might have seen, this is the great thing about this course. The lessons are whenever you want. You can choose when to watch them, and you can pick times and days that are convenient for you.
Which courses do you teach?
My course is a B2 level, and as I explained before, B2 is upper intermediate. It means you have a good level of English, but you need to push yourself to reach the next step.
What do you like to do at weekends?
Like many of you, I'm very busy during the week. On weekends, I like spending time with my family and friends. I live by the sea, so I love walking by the sea or in the countryside. I also enjoy eating out and trying different restaurants.
Who are your students?
My students are all of you. This course is designed for anyone at a B2 level who wants to improve their English and become more confident.
Where are you from?
I live by the sea in Bournemouth, which is in the south of England. I'm originally from Kent, a place in the southeast of England, about 60 miles from London.
Why do you like teaching English?
I love teaching English because it's so rewarding to help students with their vocabulary and confidence. It's a great feeling knowing that I'm helping you to understand things you didn't know before.
Now let's talk about word order in questions.
In questions, we usually put the subject after the first verb. For example, John will John, or the hotel becomes was the hotel.
This is a simple strategy. Just invert the subject and verb, but be careful when there's more than one verb in the sentence. The subject always comes after the first verb. For example, is Emily working today? Is correct, but is working Emily today? Is not.
Let's do some practice now. I have 5 sentences with jumbled up words, and your job is to put them in the correct order to form questions. Here are the sentences. When was built this house? Why Martin working isn't today? What the restaurant time is booked? Why was canceled the trip? When the meeting starts to do is.
Let's listen to the questions again. When was built this house? Why Martin working isn't today? What the restaurant time is booked? Why was canceled the trip? When the meeting starts to do is. Pause the video now and rearrange the words to make questions. We'll check the answers in a moment.
How did you do? Let's check the answers.
When was this house built? Why isn't Martin working today? What time is the restaurant booked? Why was the trip canceled? When is the meeting due to start?
Let's listen to it again. When was this house built? Why isn't Martin working today? What time is the restaurant booked? Why was the trip canceled? When is the meeting due to start? Well done if you managed to get those correct.
Next, let's move on to auxiliary verbs. Don't worry if you don't know the term auxiliary, we'll explain it.
In present simple questions, we use auxiliary verbs like do or does. For example, do you live far? Or does the film start soon?
And for past tense questions, you change do to did. For example, did you sell your car? Or did the rain stop?
Let's practice a bit more with auxiliary verbs. I've removed the auxiliary verb from these sentences. Your task is to decide which auxiliary verb, be, have, do, to use, and whether the sentence is present or past tense.
You ever won a competition? Anyone in your family speak English fluently? You good at maths when you were at school? You busy at work these days? You sleep well last night?
Let's listen to those questions again. You ever won a competition? Anyone in your family speak English fluently? You good at maths when you were at school? You busy at work these days? You sleep well last night? Pause the video now. Decide which auxiliary verb to use and whether the question is in present or past tense. We'll check the answers shortly.
Let's see how you did.
Have you ever won a competition? Does anyone in your family speak English fluently? Were you good at maths when you were at school? Are you busy at work these days? Did you sleep well last night?
Once more time. Have you ever won a competition? Does anyone in your family speak English fluently? Were you good at maths when you were at school? Are you busy at work these days? Did you sleep well last night? Well done if you got them right, especially with the past tense questions in number 3 and number 5.
Now, let's look at using who, what, and which. Here's a quick explanation of the difference between using who as an object and as a subject.
In the sentence, James met somebody, the question is, who did James meet? Because somebody is the object. But in the sentence, somebody met James, the question becomes, who met James? Because somebody is the subject.
We also have the difference between which and what, which is used for specific choices, and what is more general. For example, which restaurant did you go to? Is asking about a specific restaurant, while what films do you like? Is a more general question.
Let's practice. I've given you some statements, and I want you to turn them into questions using who, what, which, and when. Here's an example.
Statement, I'm worried about something.
Question, what are you worried about?
Pause the video and try to form the questions. We'll check them soon.
Here are the questions I came up with.
What does this word mean? When does the lesson start? Where do we eat lunch? Who is Mr. Blackburn?
Listen to the questions again. What does this word mean? When does the lesson start? Where do we eat lunch? Who is Mr. Blackburn?
You did great. Remember, the question word you use depends on the information you're asking for. What for something general, when for time, where for place, and who for people.
And that's it for Lesson 1. Don't forget to take the test to practice what you've learned today.
In Lesson 2, we'll continue with questions 2. But the next lesson is a vocabulary lesson on illness. We'll talk about how to describe how you're feeling, whether you're well or ill, and how to describe symptoms.
Thanks for watching, and we hope to see you in the next lesson.
Goodbye!